good. Well, welcome again, everybody. We're back on Facebook Live. It's 4 o'clock, and as promised, we're continuing to meet with leaders of our community. And what a thrill it is for me to be here today on this beautiful porch with all these wonderful flowers and everything with my dear friend Nancy Nestor Baker. Nancy, thanks for joining us today.
I am delighted to be here.
Nancy everybody in Westerville knows this. She's forgotten more about Westerville Schools than the rest of us know. I don't know, you're probably going on about 30 years.
Yeah, I started as a child, right?
Yeah.
This is my 18th year. I am coming up on 18 and a half years
18 and a half
on
years.
the Board of Education.
And so, and you're also a board member of Neighborhood Bridges.
I am, and I was so delighted when you asked me to do that. It is a joy.
So let's just talk about, your view of our schools and community, and and then a little bit about perhaps the impact that Neighborhood Bridges has been able to make. Talk to me about how's it going with the schools, and what do you want to share?
Oh my goodness, do we have about 3 hours? Because
We do?
me,
Yeah.
I could go on and on and on about what's
Yeah.
going on in the schools and where we've been and this community in general, but things are going really well in the schools right now. There's a lot of energy, a lot of good things happening. We have brought back a lot of programming that was done away with a number of years ago when things weren't rosy financially. We've added new things. The idea for us now in the schools is, in a lot of ways, it's a back to the future idea because it's the way it was when you and I went to school in Westerville. The idea is to meet each student's needs, to do whatever we can do to meet their needs academically, to help them socially, provide the skills that they need and liberal education, liberal arts education that they need to succeed well. And so whether it's music coming back strongly, whether it's science and technology and engineering, whether it's redesigned curriculum across the board, that's what's going on in Westerville Schools. And it's interesting because as I think about Westerville, and I think about Westerville Schools over the time that you and I have been within this community, a lot has changed. But I think even more remains the same. Because even though there are houses and schools and all sorts of things where there used to be cows and horses and corn, and even though we are broadly diverse, socioeconomically, ethnically, politically, still there is that strong, solid underpinning of what it means to be part of Westerville and part of Westerville Schools. This is a community that believes in taking care of each other. No matter who we are, where we come from, what we have done in our lives, we believe in caring for others. And that is, I think, the core strength of Westerville and the core strength of Westerville Schools. And you cannot divide one from the other.
Well, I couldn't agree more. I agree with everything that you've said. And, I'd just like to say that from now I have a different hat on in this exciting part of my life. And so I view things a little bit differently. And I would concur that I think that the schools are taking a very thoughtful approach to really serving the whole student and offering a comprehensive array of opportunities to meet every student, at his or her doorstep and his or her abilities and talents. And that's not at all dissimilar to, I think, what we're trying to do through the service community side of this and really Neighborhood Bridges.
I think you're right. And I think that's one reason that Neighborhood Bridges has been able to mesh so well with what's going on in this community and what's going on in the school district. It's not a function of Neighborhood Bridges saying, this is what we think Westerville should be. It's a function of Neighborhood Bridges saying, this is who Westerville is, and how do we connect all of what we are together to make it better. And when I think about Neighborhood Bridges in the schools, it's been wonderful to see what happens when a request goes up, when our counselors or our teachers or our administrators bring a need to the bridge. It's wonderful. You see 12 minutes and the needs are met, or you see this child needs underwear, or this child needs a belt, or this family needs a bed, and the community says, I can help with that. And if you think about how many times before neighborhood bridges existed, how many times you would say, you know, so-and-so had a need or whatever, and you think, oh, if only I had known. And now with bridges, we have a way to connect all of the different strands that let us know when there's someone in need. We don't know their name. We don't have to know their name. But what we know is there's a need and we can meet it. And with the school's broad reach and deep connections within the community, the schools are a natural place for those needs to become known. And it's also a natural fit because our educators and our staff members are so in tune with the child who has needs or the family that is struggling. And that is where neighborhood bridges then can create that bridge between the family, the schools, the community, other community organizations, and ease the struggle.
That's perfectly said. I mean, just wonderfully said and articulated. And, you know, one of the things that I think is important to share with the community is, you know, neighborhood bridges is really an advocacy model. And so this would not work without the kind of thoughtful and committed and devoted employees and staff that we have in this community, but also the clergy and the great folks at Concord Counseling who really have kind of upended, we've kind of inverted the way that service has been provided in that we are letting advocates kind of drive this. But, you know, in my mind, that's an equal act of kindness, equal in part to the donation, because without the advocacy of the donors don't know, as you say, really don't know how to plug in, and everybody is delighted, I think, with the outcome.
They are. You know, I was raised in a Presbyterian church in this community, Central College Presbyterian, and as I was growing up, Reverend Ellsworth, who was there for so many years, repeatedly said, we are blessed in order to be a blessing. And no matter where you come from in your faith journey, or where you come from in your life journey, the blessings that you have only magnify when you give them to other people. And Bridges is a perfect example of that, because what we are doing is giving our gift of self and our gift of resources, and in return, the gifts we get magnify all that is good about not only who we are, but the good that this place is.
Wow, I don't know how we can top that. I'm moved by what you just said, and I think the community is moved by just the opportunity that it wants. Imagine my view of the world today. You know, what I get to see every day, people rushing to want to just be a good neighbor. And it's pretty exciting.
It is exciting. If you think about it, the next time in my world, as I look at the big yellow school buses that go by, or I see the children walking to school or riding their bikes or whatever, I often think, what's going on in their lives? And as diverse as we are, and as much as we know about human beings in all of our lives, I think, who needs help? Who needs the bridge? Who needs us? And so every time you see a big yellow school bus go by, you think, who can I help? And how can I make their life stronger and better the way other people have made my life stronger and better?
Well, you can see why Westerville thrives, you know, because of, you know, the thoughtfulness that embodies your approach to your community. And I've seen it for years, and I'm terribly grateful for your support of Neighborhood Bridges and your friendship. And so I hope you've enjoyed this. Remember that this is all part of the Big Give and the Columbus Foundation, and I hope you'll make a donation and help us continue to build that bridge. Is what we're trying to do. A bridge is a support mechanism, and we're just going to ask for support once a year, and so that we can allow those acts of kindness to flow freely back and forth across the bridge. So Nancy, thanks so much, and more on this later, and we invite you to continue to follow our journey.
Thank you.
Thank you.